Stevie Wonder Talking Book. So this is it's pretty early Stevie Wonder. It's not early Stevie Wonder, but it's pretty early. Josh is going to start us off on this one, but Matt, what are your thoughts?
So this is the third highest ranking Stevie Wonder album on Best Ever Albums. It's number 147 in the 1970s, number 16 in 1972, number 619 of all time, and on Rolling Stone's list, it comes in at number 59 of all time.
Wow.
So very highly regarded with the Rolling Stone people.
Sure is.
Interesting. Well, not highly regarded with me. Not as high as that, really. So the key point or the key sounds on this album. So, okay, let me back up. This is a very different sounding album than anything we've heard before. And that is because of the clavinet that he plays on this. And I went in, and also the electronic bass or synth bass, I guess, is also kind of the other prominent sound on this album. And I looked it up because I couldn't put together what instrument it was, and I don't think we've heard the clavinet much on or any up to
I
this
think it was
point.
I think it might have been on Bill Withers' album. I think
It
he was
was,
using it a little bit. Yeah,
okay. Not nearly as much as Stevie Wonder.
No, but it's that funky. It's like the piano part in. It's like the part in Superstition, right? The funk. It's like the funk piano.
Correct.
It's the way, yeah.
Basically,
okay.
It was developed in Germany. I looked it up. I watched a video on it. And,
makes sense.
And yeah, it's just kind of an electric version of a clavichord. And so yeah, that is all on this album. And Stevie Wonder's really into kind of the funk on this album. That's kind of the direction that this album is in. And he's also, I noticed some vocal distortion when he sings on certain songs. Now, he has a very good voice, and Stevie Wonder's been performing since he was a kid, I think, and he's a really good piano player as well. But this album didn't really resonate with me much. I felt like there was too many ballad/love songs on this album that I didn't really care for. I think Superstition is by far the standout track, and that's mainly because of the clavinet and the bass line on that. I think it's just kind of one of a kind, really. And that comes up, the sound comes up over and over again. I liked hearing the sound, but there wasn't a lot in here that I said, ooh, that's great, or ooh, that's one I hadn't heard of before that is a good cut that needs to go in the rotation. I really think he I think he was trying for some sort of concept album almost, or he seemed to have a theme on this album, right? Of love and heartbreak and kind of positive feelings, I think. And yeah, for some reason, this one just, I feel like there's got to be better Stevie Wonder albums out there that I haven't heard before. That was kind of my main takeaway.
So, Matt?
Hot take. This album fucking sucks. I hated this album, and I hated
really?
I hated it even more when I saw that it was ranked 59 in Rolling Stone, and I was like, I don't get this. I don't understand it. Okay, Superstition is a fantastic song, and I Believe When I Fall in Love is a great song too. That the chorus there is great. I thought this album was boring as all get out. I was just waiting for if he did more with what he did with Superstition with the drums, like that, particularly, the second track is a great example of this, because it seems like it starts off kind of cool with the clavinet kind of thing going on, the little funky part, and I kept waiting for the drums to kick in to kind of bring it up and to kind of go up, because I think that it had that potential to do that. And while the drums do come in, they're almost to the background, or they do a little bit of thing here and then they go away, and I'm like, what is this? It's almost part of this album reminded me of There's a Riot Going On by Sly and the Family Stone, in the sense that it almost seems like he's doing demos, right? It's unfinished to me. There's just parts in here that I'm just I don't feel like there's a whole lot of the hooks or the melodies aren't quite there. Maybe the lyrics are great, but again, I'm not looking for that. It sounds kind of wimpy, kind of like a lounge act kind of thing that's just there, and I just kept waiting for something cool to happen because it's Stevie Wonder. Like, people love Stevie Wonder, and it's like, songs in the key of life. You talk about other albums. I hope that, there's two of them that, right off the bat that that are supposed to be like, songs in the key of life is number 4 on Rolling Stone. So like he ranked very highly, but I was just like, what am I missing here? And apparently John, from his reaction, seems like he likes this. So I'm interested to hear what's so great about this, but it's missing me, right? It's just it's totally bypassed me. I didn't really feel there was much that I was connecting with at all. I don't think it's one of those situations where I wasn't listening to it at the right time. I was just left very nonplussed by this. And I was expecting to like it. I was expecting to be like, okay, now I get to hear why Stevie Wonder is so great. And I think because of that, along with it being ranked so highly with Rolling, I was shocked. My mouth was like this. And oddly enough, I found this funny too. This is ranked number 59. Number 60 is Astral Weeks. So you've got like 1, 2 right there of 2 albums that to me are way higher than what they should be. So I don't know, maybe there's a bunch of listeners out there that are like dumbfounded by this, but I don't get it. So John, you tell me, what am I missing here? Because this to me was boring and just uninteresting, and I'm not going to go back to this ever.
Well, I was in the middle on that. I actually thought I was going to be the guy who was kind of saying a little bit of what you guys said too, and that I didn't connect with this album. I, though, didn't hate it like you did, and I might have found more in it. The clavinet is there. It's just one of the things. The thing that stood out to me on this album is the Moog synthesizer is on this album all over the place. The electric piano is all over this album. He's doing a lot of different things, and so this falls in that category of me of I could appreciate in first listen the amount of stuff that he was doing. Right, and I know how layered it was and how much stuff there was, and I'm sure if I listened to a second and third time, I would even greater appreciate that. I will go with a new take on this album that will not be the case on later Stevie Wonder albums, which I know better, and then one that is a consistent thing I say about Stevie Wonder albums. The thing I consistently say is that I feel Stevie Wonder has a little bit of Bob Dylan for me, in the sense that I usually like his songs done by other people better than I sometimes like when he does his own songs. I don't... Like Josh said, it's not that he has a bad voice. It's just not a voice that resonates with me. It's a voice that a lot of other people hear sorrow and longing and elation and stuff in, and I only hear a guy singing a love song to someone as his one default, type of song. So that is one thing that does sometimes be a barrier for me with Stevie Wonder. I think this album falls in the category of this was more of an interesting album in concept than it was in terms of how it made me feel. So this one engaged my brain because there was a lot going on and I was interested in it, but it didn't engage my soul as much. And I think that's where I'm missing what some of these other people see. I know this is the Stevie Wonder album that critics like as much for the experimentation stuff, which makes sense. Whereas other ones, it's like I feel his soul and stuff like that. But yeah, 12 love songs that kind of say the same thing. You're not going to get it lyrically. At least I'm not. It kind of says the same. I say 12. I'm sorry, it's 10 songs that are in there. I've never been a huge fan of "You Are the Sunshine of My Life." It just doesn't do enough for it's only it's not even 3 minutes, I don't think, and it just doesn't feel like there's enough there. Superstition, we've talked about, it is the best song on this album. I actually like You've Got It Bad Girl as well, is always a song that I've liked. So that middle point there was probably my favorite part of the album, tracks 5 and 6. There's a little bit of it for me that it did bleed together a little bit. It was a little boring for me. But I don't know if it was as boring as it was for you, Matt, because I could at least get into all the different instrumentation. I do think that if I listened to this the second time, I would like it a little bit better. But yeah, I can't sit here and say that as a funk album, I like it better than most of the funk albums we've done. As an R&B or soul album, I can't say I like it better than most of the R&B or soul albums we've done before. It's certainly, if we're going with where black music was in 1972, I was much more interested in what Curtis Mayfield and Bill Withers were selling me than I was in what Stevie Wonder was selling me here. Now, I know his next album's Intervisions, and I'll be interested in what your takes are on that, because I think we do cover that.
Yeah, it's number 30 in the 70s.
Yeah, and it's a very different album in some ways. I'll be interested to see what you guys think, if it continues what you guys think or if you go in a different direction. and I'm a little more familiar with that than I am with this one. But yeah, I was left a little flat with this one. I think I'm with you guys on that. With that being said, he is a genius in terms of layering music, because it is stacked on top of each other, and there's a lot of interesting shit going on here.
So is that when you say that it engaged your brain? Is that what you're talking about?
Because it engaged my brain like the jazz did, right? Where I just heard different tracks, and I followed certain sounds, and then I said to myself, okay, now let me go into another sound. And like I said, if I listened to it 2 or 3 times, I could listen to different sounds on the same songs. And I'm guessing the critics that love this album did that. And that, I think, is, he's doing a lot of stuff with his voice, multiple tracking and stuff like that, Zappa was doing earlier, but he's doing it in a different way.
And I know he's a genius, right? Like that's, he's like what he's done. And I saw him play live. I saw him at Bonnaroo several years ago, and he was great. He's a great performer, even at the age that, that he is. And I'm just like, I don't know. Part of me almost wants to go back and listen to this again, because like of all the stuff that you're talking about, the layering, all the instrumentation, what he's doing, maybe in a production standpoint. But it was track after track of me just kind of being like, what am I don't know what I'm missing here,
But there's a lot of geniuses who are. I mean, Frank Zappa is a genius, but I don't always want to listen to what he plays.
I'd rather listen to that than
Well, but you get what I'm saying? It's like genius, and I know you love Radiohead and stuff, but Tom York, he's a genius too, right? But some of his solo stuff, I appreciate that he's doing it, and it's complicated, but am I going to want to listen to it? Not, and that's why I can separate. I don't, because I can appreciate someone as a genius or people tell me it, doesn't mean that I have to be inauthentic and say that this music connected with me. Now, I will say that I did not dislike this music. It certainly was not something like, this just didn't hit with me totally. Yeah. But it more, I think, I was just left a little bit flat, and that it didn't. I have a certain expectation for what I want my R&B and soul to hit, right? And especially my funk. I want my funk in my guts, in my soul and in my, loins, right?
Yeah,
and this didn't do that at all.
Well, where are the drums?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, it's like in order to be like, don't you need that for good funk?
Well, you've got some congas in some songs. I guess and then the synthesizer in some cases is serving as the drum track. That's kind of what's going. Yeah,
and that's why Superstition's such a great song, because it starts off with a great drum beat, and it permeates the entire song along with the clavinet, and the horns coming in like. I saw this song on there. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. And it's like, no song on here is even close to sounding like that as far as I'm concerned. So that's probably one of the reasons it's another, that I'm so negative on it, is because I was expecting so much and got so little out of it. And then when I saw 59, I was like, what? I don't get it.
Yeah. It's like he wanted to do like a love album, but a funk love album, and it didn't really work. I don't know.
I think the Funk Love album was covered by Hot Buttered Soul, right?
Yeah.
Although it's a different type of hot buttered love than maybe this love. Yeah.
Do you think you guys? I mean, did either of you think of There's a Riot Going On at all? Like in terms of the production at all with this? I mean, because it seems like stripped down, kind of muddled a little bit, and that's something I picked up on.
It's got a lot going on. Like There's a Riot Going On, but that Sly and the Family Stone album was its own unique, just the way he blurred his vocals into the back.
Right.
You never Stevie Wonder singing, or if it's not Stevie Wonder, whoever else is there. I never said, that's not like indecipherable or clearly thrown in the back to be ambiguous. Like I think it's the vocals, while not always in the front, are not deliberately pushed back. They just they come in when they come in, and
I guess I'm saying that because I feel like both of these are unfinished works, like I said, like demo kind of, like figuring things out, and I was like, okay, well, what else you got? What are you going to put on top of this that's going to make it what this, the song should be in my mind? But it's more of that I was kind of that I was hearing, and it's been a while since I've listened to There's a Riot Going On, and I've only listened to this once, so maybe on subsequent listens I would change my mind on that. But that was kind of a reaction about the fourth or fifth song. I was kind of like, that's where my head started going. So
yeah, I think for me it's not so much that this feels unfinished as much as it feels like when you listen to someone who can really play their instrument, but they play it in a way that doesn't connect with you. There was a little bit more of that. The Sly and the Family Stone one felt unfinished because where Sly Stone was unfinished. Of course the album was going to be unfinished. He was in a place where everything was unfinished for him. So to me, that even fit because that's what that album's supposed to sound like, because that is finished for what he was going for there, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's almost like he was trying to, bring himself into the 70s and doing like an album that he would do in the 60s, but with like 70s instrumentation or whatever the hot thing was at that time, which was, like synthesizers, electronic instruments, and him experimenting. But the other part, with the clear outlier of Superstition, that it didn't come together completely.
Well, and let's be honest, the critics love people that can play lots of shit, right? And he, he plays the Fender Rhodes. I'm looking right now. Fender Rhodes, drums, Moog bass, Hohner clavinet, he does vocals and background vocals. He does the Tonto synthesizer, harmonica, and I think that stands harpsichord, right? And so you look at this dude, he's picking up all these instruments, you watch him live, I'm sure it's like, holy shit, this guy is a true genius. But just like Prince, right? Another guy who's in that, I like a lot of Prince, and there's some Prince I don't like at all. Yeah. And I can appreciate that he can play like 50 instruments, but sometimes I'm not interested in what he's doing on those 50 instruments.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing the other Stevie Wonder albums, because I'm sure that there's stuff out there that that I would like. I was just taken back by this, and and plus all that stuff, John. On top of that, the fact that he's blind,
right? Well, yeah,
you know what I mean, a significant disability, and he's able to to do all that stuff. But even a song like "I Believe When I Fall in Love," which I did know. I remember that from High Fidelity, right? That's the closing track of that movie, High Fidelity. And that's a great chorus. Like that's a beautiful soaring chorus. And none of the other songs. So it's different than Superstition, right? So that's got the funk song going on, but none of the other songs had really that type of hook or that type of chorus either. And that's why I was just like, wow. I'm just surprised. I know I keep repeating myself, but I'll stop at that. I was surprised at how much this did nothing for me.
Yeah.
So,
we're nothing if not honest, and that's, I think sometimes people will try to tell you what they think you want to hear, but I think by now you should know that we're going to tell you what we think as opposed to just what we're supposed to say. So I appreciate that. So Josh, any last thoughts?
No, I'm surprised we're all in agreement on this album. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah. So